This video is brought to you by MR Hi-Fi Reviews. We are driven to create high-quality, visually stimulating, and honest, informative reviews of personal audio, home audio, and technology, bringing you the latest and greatest news from the audio industry. Visit us at mrhifireviews.com.
I do crazy things at night. I do crazy.
Woo! What a way to start off the video stream. Oh, hey guys, welcome everybody. My name is Marcello. I am so honored to have Cazztek, an incredible electronic music producer and DJ with us. So let's bring him in. What up, brother? How are you, man?
Yo, what's up, bud? How are you, man? Thanks for having me, dude.
Oh,
excited to be here.
Of course, excited to have you, man. Let's say what up to our peeps out there in the chat. How are you guys all doing out there today? Hey, thanks, Elric. Thanks for the super chat, brother. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for showing your support. I love it. Sparkle hands. Yeah. What's up, Denver? What's up, Leonard?
What's up, Denver?
What's up, Scott and Martin? How are you guys? Elric. So everybody, definitely, if you can, listen with headphones today or on speakers, because we are going to have some pretty dope videos and some very dope tracks to listen to. So you'll want to for sure have your headphones or speakers. If you're watching from a phone, yeah, it's going to be just as cool, but not quite as cool because you won't get to hear it the same way. Scott, glad to hear you're doing great, brother. Awesome. Good. We'll give it another minute or so for everybody to get in here. How's audio? Are we sounding good out there? How's Cazztek's levels?
How am I sounding? Do I sound weird? Like always?
Leonard, I know. COVID, I know. I wish it was over too. You know, we're getting closer, man. Glad to hear you're doing great, Scott. Awesome. So let us know. I know there's a little delay, so let us know about audio. If our audio levels are good, and if they are, we'll get right into it. And we will have on super chats today, so if you want to show your support for the live stream and the channel and the production, you can definitely super chat like Elric did. You know, we're gonna probably not take a lot of like gear pairing questions though, obviously, unless it's something about like what I love listening to Cazztek's music with. But for the most part, you know, the question should probably more be geared towards Cazztek's music production and electronic music as a whole. So just keep that in mind. Let's see here. Sounds good. Looks like we're getting some good audio levels. Sounds great. Yes, both sounds good. What's up, Stefano? How are you, man? Good to see you. There is a party here. You made it. What's up, Nikki? Your lady's here in the chat with us.
Oh, my girl.
That's right.
Genesis.
Zen Boy says levels are good. Awesome. Good deal. Awesome. Well, I think let's roll into it, man. Look, you got you see that coffee mug again.
I got my Nikki Genesis mug.
Look at that.
Sponsored by her. I mean, I really just stole it from her, but
yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I love it. What's up, Raz Q? What's up, dude? Good evening to you. Raz, you're in Europe, I believe. So we got Stefano. He's over the pond. We got Martin is over the pond. Raz Q, nice. I believe, is over the pond. Let us know where you're viewing from today. All right, cool. All right.
What time is it over there?
Yeah, I would say it's probably what,
like 8 hours, between 8 and 10 hours ahead, right?
Yeah, so it's like 9 o'clock, I believe, or 10 o'clock, somewhere like that.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look. Cool. Perfect.
Just
All right.
listening to us from the future.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, Cazztek, man. So
What's up, dude?
obviously, I love your music and
Thanks, man.
super stoked to have you on the stream. And I've been listening to your music pretty much nonstop this last week prepping for this stream, and I made my own playlist of your music in Rune. So guys and gals, Rune users, yes, you can actually set him up. He isn't on Tidal. He's on Spotify. I didn't check Amazon Music, but I would imagine definitely so. And
Probably.
Kobus. So you can, if you're a Rune user, you can set up and do a pretty dope playlist like I did of his music. It's 10 p.m. over there, Leonard. That's right. Leonard's in Norway. Raz Q's from Germany. Raz Q and UK. Zen Boy. Awesome, man. Thank you from the UK. And Stefano from France, 10 p.m. Awesome. So let's get into it, man. So, I mean, for those of you that are being introduced to Cazztek for the first time, he's been producing electronic music for some time. How long now? A long time now. How long have you been doing music production?
Man, it's a complex question because music has been a part of my life. I mean, ever since I learned how to walk. But professionally, I'd probably say 2012, 2011.
Very cool.
It's I've always loved music. It's been a part of me. I've always loved, even as a kid, I'd have my boombox in my room and all my CDs, listen to like hip hop, all the things, and like beatboxing and like hitting my desk and making beats and stuff, and diving into like software and what was a computer back then, I guess. But it really wasn't till about 2011 where I decided to take that leap and pretty much quit my day job and go music full time and go for it, which is like one of the scariest things in my life, but also the most exciting things in my life. And I think it kind of panned out well. It's been quite a journey, but yeah.
I love it. Well, they say anytime you do something consistently for 10 years, that's you hit your first levels of mastery. So you're now at your first levels of mastery now after 10 years of doing it professionally. That's pretty
10 years, 10,000 hours.
That's it.
The two.
Yeah, that's epic, dude.
I'll probably say it's way more than 10,000 hours, and I'm still learning. It's a rabbit hole.
I feel the same way about photography and videography. I feel like I'm always learning, even every time you create a different project, you're learning something new. Even if it's not technical, it might be just creatively, from a creativity standpoint, you might be learning something new. Yeah. What's up, Christopher? Welcome, buddy. Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining. So you've had something like over 30 million streams worldwide. How does that feel? Over 30 million streams worldwide. That's got to feel pretty damn good. I mean, that's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. I mean, I can't really remember the last time I did the count. It's the music's being distributed in so many channels, Spotify, Apple Music, so you can't really keep the count anymore. But it's definitely up there, and it's pretty awesome to have your music have reached that many people and have that effect and that impact on listeners.
I love that, man, and it does, especially. I mean, it had an effect on me. So something that was really, I mean, last year was really hard for me, both personally and professionally, and something that really lifted my spirits up was your live streams with you and Nikki during the lockdowns. Yeah. During the lockdowns, I just love that, man. Just because you guys have such great energy, you're such good peeps, and you can just see it. Yeah. And you're busy, you got things going on, you don't have to do that stuff, and you took the time to do that to lift everybody up, and that was huge. It was huge for me, man.
Well, fortunately, we were very, very prepared for it. Because Nikki has been wanting to do live streams for a very long time. And so, months leading up to that, we were accumulating like gear for it and all that. And And then, the COVID thing hit, and we had all this gear, like all the live stream stuff, and, or like, okay, well, since now, obviously given the bummer aspect of, you know, shows and all that stuff, we're like, well, how do we adapt? What do we do here? How do we take advantage of this moment where now the world's about to change? And we're like, well, we have all this gear. Why don't we just throw this stuff up and live stream? So we literally, the day, I think it was like March 15th, the day that it was announced, we threw everything up and just started our first live stream. And it was awesome. I mean, the first one was a few thousand. The second one, we had 10,000 viewers watching, like, and kind of spreading. And we did one every single day for like 14 days straight, because I mean, what else are we going to do? It's shut down, the stores are sold out of all food. We already have our stuff packed. We're in the cave. We're like, let's just keep our connection with everyone that's stuck at home right now. So,
and what's so cool to me is like you had like a lot of the camera gear and stuff, and as like a streamer guy and a techie guy, right? Like my stuff is constantly changing a little bit, right? But what was fun for me to watch is how you guys, what you started with, and how your set like continued to grow and get cooler and cooler and cooler. Like new lights got added in, a new backdrop, and then like there was costumes, and like it just got more and more. It just got more and more fun. And then pretty soon there was like you guys were in like a UFO spaceship, like flying through, DJing through the sky, and I was just like, this is amazing.
Yeah. So, yeah, we got to that point. That was like, I think that was the 20th episode, and it progressed from there. It was like, okay, let's add these lights, and let's like do this. Let's introduce green screen. Let's do visuals. Let's do the sliding cam, panning camera. And then one night it was like green screen. I'm like, maybe we could build a spaceship and fly through like the planet and all this stuff. And we're like, yeah, let's do it. And that was our 20th stream, and people were like, what is this? This is crazy. And, from that point on, we're like, man, how do we top this, and, but it's, we just keep on pushing ourselves. That's the fun in, having this open line of creativity with the live streams and on Twitch and on YouTube and stuff like that.
I loved it. It was great, man. So let's get into a little bit more. Let's talk about music to you. Obviously, like you hinted at it before, that music has been a really important part of your life ever since you could, first started, probably before you were walking even, right? So how tell me actually first, like, what was your big first wow moment with music that was so memorable to you that just really you fell in love with music?
I'd say I'd probably like lean towards like one of the kind of biggest, what kind of music is this, right? Because I grew up to, hip hop, pop, rock. I mean, all of it, and I was submersed in it all. There wasn't like, some kids are just like all about punk. Some kids are all about this genre, metal, this. I just loved it all. But I think there was a moment where I got an album by a band called The Prodigy.
Oh, awesome.
And the album was called Fat of the Land.
Oh,
I bought it at, Tower Records or whatever. And I'm like, okay, this is okay. I remember seeing the music video Firestarter. And I saw that and I'm like, I've never heard anything like this before. What is this? And I got the album and I just couldn't stop listening to it. And that really was what opened me up to electronic music. It's something that was just completely out there, super different. And really, that was I still remember that moment because I couldn't take that CD out of my player, and I just listened to it over and over again. And then that led me to, other channels like the Chemical Brothers, the Crystal Method, Orbital, all of these like cool electronica, I would say, electronica, breakbeat, those which were just huge influences on me. So here I was, I was listening to 90s hip hop, R&B. I was super into that, and then I fall into this electronic music world, and I really feel that set the tone for really my creative influence, because when you listen to my songs, you can hear that there's little splashes of hip hop, whether it's the beats, the 808s, the bass lines, the vocals mixed in with house music and just different influences. Even one of my songs has a Led Zeppelin sample in it that you would never recognize, but you kind of would until I would say it and you're like, oh, I hear that, because I totally warped it and did it in my own way.
I love Led Zeppelin. That's sick. Yeah, I think a lot of music lovers, like true music lovers, they don't necessarily love just one type of music, and they're inspired by all kinds of different music. And I love that you have taken that and invested that energy into your music and how you design and produce. That's pretty sick.
Well, it's your foundational reference, right? Like what is in your environment is really, that is what I guess sculpts your creative mind. Or else you can get downloads in other places in other ways. But really, it's subconscious when you're writing music, and you write this melody, and it could be something that you completely wrote randomly, or it could have been embedded in your mind that has just been stored away and indexed and subconsciously come out from that influence, or that from inspirational piece that you've heard.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I still listen to that Prodigy album, and I still listen to the Chemical Brothers. So I mean,
That's my favorite.
Even though a lot of that stuff was several years ago, they still they bring up emotions in you because like you said, that first time you heard that album, it still probably brings up a lot of those emotions. And I see that from the chat. A lot of the guys out there also still listen to a lot of that as well. So let's talk about music production a little bit. So obviously, you've been doing it as a pro for over 10 years now, but how did you get into music production? What pulled you into that space?
I'd say really just messing with beat making software. It was, God, what was it? I downloaded some software called Sony Acid, and it was just this basic thing that you can install and mess with beats. The thing is that most DJs now, they start by DJing, right? And they master that, and they go, okay, well, I want to be able to create. I feel like I started on the creation. I sort of started on the creation path. I could probably pinpoint a good starting point in which I really dove into that realm. It was in high school, and there was this class called dance production, and I was super into dance. I was a hip hop dancer, breakdancing, and this class was the sort of the goal for every guy to get into, because all of the hottest girls were in this. So that's one benefit. That's one advantage, right? So every guy in school was auditioning for it. Two, you get to replace that with PE. With for me, PE was just super boring. I was just whatever, So that was another benefit to being in it, and it was really cool because it was really for the juniors and seniors in high school. And what they would do is that you would spend the entire year putting together a show. The kids themselves, not the teacher. She would just be sitting back and watching and letting them put their creativity to the test to put together this entire production, this entire show that they showcased at the end of the year. And it was the biggest thing, the biggest talk of the school at the end of the year. So going into that, when you put together a song, it can only be, or when you put together a dance, it can only be X amount of time. So what the kids were doing was that they would be doing it with cassette tapes and recording the song in the cassette tape, stopping it, going to another part of the song, and then pressing record again. And that was just how they did it. But for me, I learned how to edit music on editing software. I think it was Sony SoundForge. That is what it was, Sony SoundForge. And I would make these cuts for the songs, for the performances, and I'd show all the kids in the class, and they were like, "Is this black magic? What is this? How did you do this?" And I'm like, "Oh, I did it on my computer at home." And so everyone gave me their songs to cut, and then that sort of really sparked it for me, because I learned how to manipulate audio and cut it the way I wanted. And back then, when I was also into listening to a lot of songs and collecting, I was a part of I had Napster, so I would download all these songs and then listen to them over and over again, just because I was in love with, like, not just the songs themselves, but how they were produced. That's really what stood out to me. And parts of those songs, I'd be like, oh, I don't like this part. So I would cut it and edit these songs and make my own versions of them. So really that's sort of what sparked it. And then, in college, the community college I was going to had this program called Making Music with Computers. And for me, I saw that and I was like, okay, I need to do this and figure out what this is all about. So I took it. They were teaching Logic at the time, and their lab had half PCs, half Macs, and you could choose which one you wanted to learn on. And I was so obsessed with it that I did really well. My teacher was like, you definitely are catching up on a lot of these things. How would you like to tutor some of these classes? And in turn, I'll give you access to the lab after school, after hours, and you could use the sound booths and do whatever you want. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And really, that's what really got the ball rolling, because that's when I first got into actual music production software, which is Logic at that time. And kind of just evolved from there.
Very cool. We had a good question. We'll take a couple questions before we get too far off. So one of them we're going to save for a little bit about, Scott, how has COVID and the lockdowns affected your music? We're going to get into that in a little bit later, because that is actually a question that I had too. And then this one is a good one from Elnrick. He said, electronic music is borrowed from many genres. What genre do you think would be the ultimate challenge to pay homage to that is often rarely used and incorporated into your music, like blues, jazz, bluegrass, etc.?
Oh man. I see what you're saying. Like, it stems from, I was thinking subgenres of electronic music, in which there's 1,000 of them now.
1,000, yeah.
But in terms of the stems into actual music, I would probably say hip hop. I'd say hip hop. One of my biggest influences in that realm is Timbaland. And when when I was learning how to make all, house music and getting into all of that, I really took those influences of, what I knew of how hip hop was created, and the cool fills, the drum fills and the breaks and the vocals and the libs of the hip hop libs and the and just kind of the swagger of hip hop, and incorporating that into house music or electronic music. And I'd say another part of it too would be funk, because I love funk, and you could definitely hear the funky soulness of some of my tracks, in which we'll probably get into later on in this this podcast.
So if those are the ones that you have took the most influence from, what do you think would be the most difficult to implement into electronic music production? Like, what genres of music would be the most challenging for you to implement into your electronic music?
That's a good question.
That was one that
classical opera.
Yeah,
I've definitely messed around and experimented with opera or classical samples and strings and all that into electronic music, which kind of gives it a cinematic feel or very emotional feel. And I'd probably say that's hard, because you can't really pinpoint the tempo and grid to some of it is a triplet, some of it is some crazy time signature, and you'd really have to use your creativity and getting into that sample and warping it to the tempo that you're working with.
I love that. Great. That's a great answer. So let's see here. There's a couple other questions, and I think some of them are going to be answered in this next question. So
sure.
Actually, so let's go in and talk about your process a little bit for music production. Tell us how you do it now. So you told us how you did it in high school, which was epic, by the way. And how do you do it now? What is, and I think I'm going to put you to large screen too as well, because there's a lot
Sure.
of cool stuff around you. Hold on, we'll get you back here. Cool stuff around you that we can kind of show off on how you do some of your work. And you can talk us through a little bit about how you produce your music now, because Scott has a question. He said, do you record your own samples? If so, what do you use to record them? And what was the coolest sample you've collected? So there's some questions. I think that now that kind of leads us into your process a little bit. You could talk the viewers through that.
I think that in the electronic music realm, the approach is very unorthodox. There is no right way to write a song. It could go so many ways. One way could be to start with an inspiration of a vocal and a cappella, and just play that and write a melody to that. Another time I could be just messing with a drum beat and finding a really cool instrumental beat that speaks to me with different percussions and sort of grooves to it. Another could be the actual top line stemmed from a chord progression. So it really is, I guess, situational on what is that inspiring moment. Even other times could be literally just jamming. I'd probably say a good amount of how I find myself latching onto something is just jamming. It's different than being someone, if you're a guitar player or a saxophone player, and you're just in there and you're trying to find that riff, and then once you find that riff, you latch onto that, and then you move from there. But in being a producer, you're handling multiple channels at once. So how you go about it, from the drums to the bass line to the top line to the vocals, those are all entry points to creating whatever is left of the DNA of the track that's about to unfold or about to come out from you. It's just there's so many ways to go about it, and I think that's one thing about being a producer, is learning to go through those steps and how to harness that, because some people get writer's block from it, because they think that starting with this chord progression is how where the entry point of making this song is going to be, so they get stuck there. But practicing the other ways is really a good way to put into your toolbox of finding more ways to create. But a lot of the times, really, it's just jamming. I'm just jamming, listening to a drum beat, maybe playing on the piano, like messing around with some samples and getting weird and seeing what sticks.
I like it.
Yeah.
Let's listen to one of your tracks. You guys out there in the chat, you guys want to hear a track? And then we'll come back and we'll talk more about music production. But we're going to get into the gear in just a second too, Home Cooked. Let's do a track. What should we do? Your latest track that just released today, right?
Yeah. Today's track release day.
Tell us about this track we're about to hear, the record label you released it under, and then just what inspired you on this track.
So this track, it's called Feet So Hot, and it's being released on Martin Garrix's record label called Stamped. He's been a huge supporter of mine, and I've released multiple tracks with him. His team is awesome. They're over in the Netherlands, and just a really good label to work with. And this is my second release of this year, and it's pretty exciting because this is one of my first official tracks that I've sang on myself. I did my own vocals on.
That's awesome.
I've done my own vocals of kind of doing libs and vocal drops and phrases and stuff like that, but not really ever singing. And I just, during COVID, I was just sitting in my studio, and I'm like, I'm just gonna I'm going to tap into this and see, what I can pull out of it. And so with Feet So Hot, it really started with uh, me just messing around with some vocals. I kind of just, meditated and dipped into some of my influences, kind of like this kind of like funk, sort of like R&B-ish vibes, and kind of just got in front of the microphone and ad-libbed or improv in front of a beat.
I love it. And anything on this track we should listen to for listeners, because you got a bunch of audio files right out there that love to hear the subtleties in the music. Is there something in the beat we should listen for, or something in the production that you really are like especially proud of that we should listen to before I play this?
Um, I'd say that one of the cool things about this track is its percussive groove. It's made of a lot of different moving parts of percussions.
Cool.
And the bass line is a percussive element in it. And how I was able to fill all of those frequencies is to take percussive drums and overlap it with synthesized bass lines, and to create this percussive bass line, and then layer it with higher octaves to kind of give it, like, you have your sub frequencies, you have your like kind of mid-low frequencies to give it a more full sound. And then along with that is the vocals and how I process the vocals and harmonize them. You have just sort of the bass vocal layer, and then they run through different harmonics on the second layer, and then I do another layer where they run through sort of like a vocoder processing. So you have this sort of vocoder robotic feel to the track.
I love it. Let's give it a listen.
Yeah.
You guys ready out there? Smash that like button for Feet So Hot. Sick, man. I love all those all those little noises underneath the bass line. It's dope, dude. I can't believe those are your vocals too. That's crazy, man.
Thanks, dude.
That's
awesome. And it really the track really progresses. That last drop is just like
sick.
Like with all like the synth work and all that. I like the flow of sort of kind of leading the listener into this like progressive feel where it's like you hear the first drop and then kind of goes, kind of dips down. You hear that second drop, it progresses, and then the main drop is just like
it's always
explosive.
I've noticed that with most all of your music. I've noticed that, and it just keeps building and building and building until, I mean, a huge drop usually at the very end.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah, which is, I love that in music, especially electronic music. Like, I've always loved that, and some people don't like that. They want just more like just basic kind of like house beat that's consistent and constant. For me, I like that progression. It's like cinematic electronic music, essentially. It's leading up to a point of just like excitement and
Yeah.
an explosion, you know?
I think that you know, when writing in this realm, I like playing like that roller coaster vibe with, you know, the ups and downs, and you can't have those ups and downs without contrast, right?
Yeah.
And if a song just comes in and it's just like hits, like it just comes at you, then without any contrast, then I don't know, it's you don't get to enjoy that ride.
I
So
agree.
you know, the way that my flow works, it's, you know, you have this like progression, it kind of breaks down, lets you breathe a little bit, um, on a listening scale and a physical scale. When you're out there on the festival, it's like you kind of, you know, you're rocking out. It's a workout, you know. And so when it kind of tones down a little bit, you're like, you catch your breath for a second and you let it sink in even more, and then it kind of, and you hit it back again.
Absolutely. I mean, your music is very good to work out to too. I've worked out to your music as well. It gives
I've
you a
gotten that
lot
before.
it gives you a lot of energy. I mean, you know, the same kind of energy you would find on the dance floor. So, you know, and it just keeps
Totally.
it's positive, it's uplifting, and you can push it to the next level whether you're dancing or
I've got
working out.
I've gotten like working out and cleaning my house. I've got text messages like, dude, I just cleaned my whole house that I haven't, like, I've done the whole thing is like, something I need to do in like in the past year, and I got it all done. Thanks, dude. I'm like,
That's
yeah, of
that
course,
that's
no problem.
hilarious. That's hilarious. So so you talked about festivals too. Let's look at like maybe some clips of you playing one of these festivals real quick, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about your production because I want to talk about some of that gear behind you, the different keyboards you're
Sure.
using, you know, and all of that jazz. So let's look. Let's take a peek at. Let's see here. Let's do the space yacht one. So talk us through this a little bit before I play it.
Space Yacht. So Space Yacht is it's a party in LA. They used to do it every Tuesday, in which you would think no one would be coming out for that, but it's honestly one of the biggest parties in LA on a Tuesday night. And it's just it's just wild. It's just a wild energy that the crowd that they pull. I mean, LA always has really good crowds, but the thing about Space Yacht is that they're very dynamic with their artists. They bring a lot of different types of artists in, from, you know, dubstep to trap to house music to um, just everything. And the crowd is just so open to it. Everyone just ingests whatever you throw at them, and the energy is so good. And it just gets wild there, and they're handing out pizzas to everyone. Like, they'll just like have stacks of pizzas that just like throwing it, like not throwing into the crowd, but like handing
Yeah,
it to the
yeah, yeah,
crowd, and they're
yeah.
just like, and it's just being passed around. Definitely definitely like a just a good vibe.
I love that. And also, you guys gotta look for this this disco freaking shark ball. Like, I mean, this is the
Oh yeah.
coolest thing I've ever seen. So check this out. Let's check it out.
For the go, pump up the bass, bring it back for the flow. Can't feel it though, hit him with the vertigo. Pump up the bass, bring it back for the flow. Bad feeling, feeling, kill it for the go. Pump up the bass, bring it back for the flow. Can't feel it though, hit him with the vertigo. Pump up the bass, hit him with the, come on. Come on.
That was awesome. That was awesome. I
Yeah,
love it.
it's a fun
I
one.
love it, man. So, so talk to us a little bit about your gear you're using back there, because a couple of people asked
Oh
about like what is the stuff that you use to create your music. Obviously, we talked about some of the software a little bit, but you know what are
yeah.
some of the physical stuff that you use? And like obviously you have headphones on your head right now that you probably use when you're DJing and probably when you're recording and producing
Mhm.
music. And then also you got some big studio monitors back there I can see. So just take us through a lot of like the gear and how you create using that gear.
Sure, yeah. You know, let's see here. I've got, this is just my MIDI controller. It's my Akai MPK61. It's just a MIDI keyboard to, you know, jam on. Just connects to my computer. This is my Moog sub 37, this is just my jam right here, dude. Like, I mean, I can take this thing around the world and back and have the best journeys ever. I mean, just making dirty bass lines to arpeggiators to just weird textures and all of that. Really, this is like it's a really big part of my sound, and it's actually one of the only hardware synths that I have remaining. I used to have a few more, but I've moved to just a lot of software stuff right now these days. And then I've got my Ableton Push, which I use in conjunction with my MIDI keyboard. It depends on like the flow, but this thing is awesome because it actually it gives you a new approach to producing music, because you're not in front of the keyboard and kind of staring at the keyboard. There's just it's a different approach because it's a different control panel. And you can assign all these knobs to different parameters of the synth. You can actually set this to certain scales. So then you can like finger drum to the scale that you want to scale to. You can sequence you can sequence within the Ableton. I use Ableton. And so that way, if I'm making a beat, it can kind of just work. I can work in a loop and it'll just sequence, and I can turn certain drum parts on, kicks, hats, whatever. If I'm working on an actual drum loop, I can do chords. Your approach to this is different, because when you do chords on that, you're hitting it in a certain way. But with this, you can hit it in a specific pattern, and you can move the way that it's gridded. You can move your fingers this way and that way. You can almost hit the same chords in different octaves.
That's cool.
It's like,
that's sick.
It's almost as if an alien took looked at one of these and was like, okay, let me actually like make that to this.
That's cool.
And then I've got my Universal Audio Apollo Twin Duo with it's got its own DSP. It's got its own processor in it that emulates a lot of existing hardware that Universal Audio makes, like classical limiters, compressors, EQs, and other brands, Manley, just a lot of stuff that used to be hardware, but these guys have entered in a space where they've made software emulations of them, tried and tested with engineers, and even those engineers couldn't tell. So now you have access to all of this, hardware that it's just sometimes they're just really hard to find, classic stuff, and now I can just bring it up on my sound card as a plugin, and I won't have to worry about it eating up my CPU, because it's got its own processor in it, which it needs to, because the emulation takes so much processing to emulate what that hardware can actually do. It just helps with that load. And then my monitors, these are my Earthquake sounds. They're actually not well known at all. Chances are you probably would have never heard of them. They're sort of underground. I got a lead into them from a music engineer, mastering engineer friend of mine. They have the technology, I could say, that you would find in really, really, really high-end studio brands. They've got the ribbon tweeters and 8-inch woofers, and I've just got my sub in the corner. Got my acoustic panels, my gig acoustic panels, and really.
And those those acoustic panels are so important, man. Like, I mean, a lot of people don't realize. So like when I'm like, even in the room I'm in now, I've got acoustic panels to try to kick down reflections. When I'm filming my YouTube stuff, talking A-roll, I've got them. And when I actually am doing like critical reviewing, listening of like speakers, I have one half of my room paneled and the other half has got plant life and other things to try to absorb some of those reflections. So I mean, it's absolutely a critical part of what you do huge. And what listeners do for critical listening anyways. So
yeah, I've got the panels make a huge difference. Plus I have the room tuned with this the software that actually scans the room and tunes it and finds all of the imperfections of the resonance that you hear in the room, and it, like, actually applies an EQ to correct it to flatten the sound that you're hearing.
I love that. I have something similar in my listening room. It's called DIRAC or DRAC or however you say it, but it's more so for like the consumer, right? Like that's listening to fix those. It's brilliant, and it makes a huge difference. Like you're immediately hearing like, you know, better imaging, better room sounds. It's sick.
Totally. Yeah, and so you know, that aside from that, you know, everything else is digital.
That's cool.
It's, you know, a lot of software synths, a lot of just chosen virtual synthesizers and effects that I use. And I think that I have found, I love hardware. I've owned Nord leads. I've owned a different the Moog Sub Fatty. I've owned the Virus TI, and I love them all. The thing that I've ran into in the past is that when I'm like creating and get into a flow, I'm a person of flow. When I have an idea, I just want to get it down, and sometimes it's hard to, I'm like, you know, for me to be like, oh my god, I have this awesome idea, and I want to, you know, start working on this track. Okay, hold on, put this in. Okay, set up channel routing, blah blah blah, and then by the time I'm in it, I'm like, geez, what was that thing that was in my head? So, you know, and again, everyone's going to have their opinions, but for me, the software synth route it just sounds so good these days, these emulations, that it's for me, it's, I like it because I can just throw up, and Ableton, you work so fast, you just throw up this synth and throw these effects on it, and before you know it, you've already got this sound that started out as a, you know, as a basic tone that's turned into like some crazy texture that you've never heard before, and you can do that within minutes.
Well, I mean, like, I think, you know, I talked about this on another stream, and I think we were even chatting about this, like Grammy award winning like albums, like the one from Billie Eilish was produced in her brother's bedroom, like through a lot of the same type of, you know, software based and, you know, hardware like you're talking about. And we're at a point now where it's not like it was 10 or 15 years ago, and it's just incredible what can be produced with some of the techniques you're talking about.
And you know, when it comes to the mastering side of things, what happens is that when you do get your tracks professionally mastered, you can stem those tracks out, and those tracks will end up going through analog hardware anyways, and they'll be processed going through their DSPs, and the end result is you get the warmth of this analog gear at the end.
That's cool. That's cool. And a lot of us love that too, that warmer, more analog sound. I love it. Mm-hmm. Awesome. I'm going to go to the chat and see if there were some questions we missed real quick. Home Cooked asked, is there somebody from a music standpoint you would recommend that people maybe new to the electronic music world should listen to, that would really kind of like open their eyes to electronic music? Maybe somebody
in terms of a specific artist?
Yeah, or just music in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, music in general. We can talk about that all day.
Well, I meant, you know, electronic music specifically.
Yeah, sure. In terms of artists, well, I mean, there's a lot of amazing artists out there. I can really go on with that, but I'll probably say, you know, someone that's really to introduce someone to this realm, a good person is Kyle Watson. If you haven't heard of him, just really, he's definitely an inspiration of mine. It's almost like this melodic, minimal house vibes, but with these gritty, dirty undertones. So it got this chill feel, which is like inviting. You're like, oh, okay. You know, you're sort of drawn into the vibe, and then he kind of hits it, and you hear these growls, and it's still inviting, but it's captivating. And I'd probably say if as a first time listener, it'd probably really draw you in.
That's awesome, man. Good shout out for him. And then Leonard has a really good question. He says it's a jungle out there with DAWs. Do you have a tip for what's the best for a new electronic hobbyist creator trying to get into
You
it?
know, there isn't. I don't think that there's a best. That it's really what clicks with your, I guess, flow, or the way that your brain thinks. Most DAWs out there, I've messed with. I started out with Logic. I moved into Cubase. Never really got into Pro Tools because that was really meant for recording bands and that whole side of that realm. I messed with FL Studio for a little bit. Most of those DAWs follow a similar structure of sequencing, timeline sequencing, and UI and user interface. Ableton came into the picture and completely turned everything upside down. And it's a different approach with Ableton than it is with everything else. So it really is diving into them and kind of messing with them and seeing how your brain reacts to the interface that you're navigating through. And I don't think that there's a best. I think that it's what you best work with. It's what most, it's if it clicks with you and nothing gets in the way and it flows with you, that's the DAW for you. GarageBand, I think that's very entry level. So if you want to mess with GarageBand and kind of understand how things work, that's cool. Another cool thing to do too, as someone trying to just understand or trying to get into it, is instead of trying to get into the whole production part itself, is to actually to dip your toe in the water with doing mashups or like remixes.
Yeah.
Right. So because you already have existing parts to work with a remix, if you can get your hands on stems of a song, then you have these parts to work with and you can kind of mess with them. And if you want to even go more surface level than that, you can take one of your favorite songs, like an instrumental of one of your favorite songs, and then the acapella of another song, and maybe some percussions from from a sample pack, and just kind of do like a 4-track, 4-layered thing and mess around with it. And you have these sort of bundled up pieces that you can work with, but it gives you an idea of the structural composition of how these things come together. And then you can, kind of dive in a little bit more and mess with a remix pack, some more stems. And then you can be like, okay, cool. I know how these drums work. Now I can just make my own drums. Now I know how this acapella works. Now I can just record my own vocals and then learn how to build a vocal chain for my vocals to go through that.
Very cool.
So yeah.
Very cool. And then Homecooked had another good question. So when you're not producing music, right? When you're just chilling with your lady or friends, what gear do you use to just listen to your music? I mean, what are you just like chilling in the house playing your music on? I mean, I know because I've seen you do some of it, but for the viewers that haven't seen it.
Chilling? What's that? I don't know what chilling is. I'm always working, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you do work a lot too, but I know you chill. I know you chill too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm either listening to stuff while I'm just doing other things on my desk, or, we've got, we're just listening to music in our living room. We've got a what is it called? The Ultimate Ears Hyper Boom. Do you know what that is?
I don't know. I've heard of Ultimate Ears.
Dude. Ultimate Ear, yeah, they make the booms. Have you've seen those little portable speakers that like all wirelessly connect with each other?
Yeah.
The Hyper Boom is their new sort of signature speaker, and it's huge. I mean, the thing is like it's like a portable party in a box.
But you can connect multiple, right? You can connect multiple.
You can connect multiple ones. So and so we've it's got like built-in dual 6-inch woofers in it, or maybe no, I think maybe it's a little bit smaller, and it shoots multiple directions. It's because it's this like giant rectangle or giant cube thing.
Yeah.
And we really, if we're just coming down in the kitchen or living room and hanging out, we got that bumping, and we're listening to we listen to Nikki and I listen to stuff that is mostly not what we're making,
I
because when we're
imagine.
making
Yeah.
because really that's how you cleanse your palate, and you're listening to other things, or maybe you're trying to pull inspiration from stuff, or so we're
Yeah.
listening to maybe sometimes it depends on the mood. We're listening to lo-fi beats, some chill trip hop, or Nikki's been she's been playing a lot of bossa nova stuff,
Cool.
like these bossa nova covers, and
Very cool.
really digging into that. So it's really just sometimes we just throw on some old school throwbacks, 90s hip hop and R&B, to kind of like get a flashback of just cool things, or maybe inspirations of like, oh, I remember that track. Oh yeah, let's maybe that can inspire me to get back in the studio and work on something. So
I love that. That's awesome.
yeah.
I love it. And then, so one other thing that I think is interesting that I had a question for you on is producing music for both listeners that are listening on headphones or on speakers. What does that look like in your production process? Because as I mean, for example, for me, I've always been into listening to speakers. But when my daughter was born, headphones became a full-on necessity, right? Because my office was right next to well, not anymore, but when they're little, but
yeah.
now she jams with me, man. We got a full listening setup, 2-channel 2.1. She is in love with Dua Lipa.
Awesome.
She'll go over to my iPad, hit Dua Lipa track, and she's like in control. She's got her music jams. But when they're little, yeah, I couldn't blast it at the levels I want to. But so like headphones became a necessity. And then for a lot of people that don't live in houses, they live in apartments in bigger cities, or live with somebody else that doesn't appreciate louder music, wives and husbands, maybe, so, you kind of get this thing where you're forced to listen on headphones, and nothing wrong with that, because there's some dope headphones. Obviously, I review a bunch of them. But, I always wonder, like, how does that work in your production realm when you're producing for both speakers as well as, a ton of people now more and more listening on headphones, whether they're Beats, whether they're AirPods, whether they're, Focal Radiance, or, even more expensive headphones.
Yeah. That's a great question. I'm listening to these Earthquake Studio speakers now. I love them. I actually produce both on at different phases. So I produce on these speakers, and I produce on my headphones. I've got these V-Moto M100s. They're incredibly amazing headphones because they're dynamic enough to be able to write music to, accurate enough to write music to, and then also be good enough to DJ to as well. So that way I'm not traveling with, two different headphones, which I used to, and it just takes up way too much space. But it's an even mix with my headphones. I've been loving producing on my headphones because I actually also wear this thing called a sub pack, and I'm not sure if you know what that is. Dude, it's like, so hold on, let me grab this thing.
I love it. Live moment. I love it. How you guys doing out there? Smash that like button for Cazztek. This is awesome. I'm learning so much cool stuff. I hope you guys are getting as much awesome freaking vibes from this as I am. Oh, what? That's it's like a vest.
Yeah. So this is a sub pack, right? Nikki got this from me as a gift.
Sick. Oh, and I already know where this is going. This is awesome.
You know where this is going?
I know.
I'm sure a lot of people in the chat may have heard of it, but it vibrates. It's got a vibrating thing in it. I don't know. I wish I could take it apart and see what's in it. But what you do, you just put it on, and it straps to your back, and it feels like you're about to go skydiving or something like that. And you clip this in, and you clip this in to kind of tighten it to your lower back. And it's got a little device in it you plug your headphones into, and it can go Bluetooth to the computer or just straight from the sound card. And what it does is that it actually it recreates the sub frequencies
Sick.
of the bass that you are hearing.
Sick.
Their first generation was a sort of like a seat mount version, and it was okay. They just didn't get it dialed in, and then they came out with this, the M2, I think that's what it's called. And dude, it feels like you're literally in front of the main stage at EDC. I mean, it is so powerful, and I think the reason why I love it so much is that it gives you this the feeling of listening to a wall of 18-inch subs without having that in front of you. And it gives you, as a producer, it gives you that glimpse of what it sounds like in that environment. Because I can imagine it with these headphones or these speakers. I mean, I got a sub here. It's cool. You know, it can like generate some stuff, but nothing like a wall of, 50 18-inch woofers. So to be able to literally not hear it, but feel it is a game changer, especially when you're actually getting into the sound design of sub frequencies. So I can understand, like, okay, I'm writing, my track is in F minor, that I know that, the frequency of F lands around 44 hertz, and I know what that feels like. And when I'm playing my melodies, I know what that's going to feel like on stage. And it's almost like a magnifying glass to the future of what it's going to sound like.
What a dope present. You have a cool lady if she's buying you that as a gift. Hey, ladies or gentlemen out there, for your supporting audiophile, other, or music lover, take note of Nikki's epic present for Cazztek. That is sick. Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome when you have an amazing partner who's also a talented music producer and DJ, and that's understands all the things and loves all the things too, and we can just geek out together. And
that's so cool.
So yeah,
that is so cool. I love that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what was the most memorable set you think you've ever played? Like, where was it? Tell us about it a little bit, because we've all been locked up and locked down for, going on over a year. And take us through your rock star life, man. Let us live through your eyes and tell us, like, what was just the most epic set?
I played a lot of really epic and memorable sets, from the shows that I played from touring to unforgettable times at Burning Man.
Oh yes, and, absolutely.
You can't match that. It's hard to say. I'd probably say one of the ones that have stuck recently is my set at Shambhala. It's a music festival in Canada. I don't know if we have any Canadian friends in the chat, but if they're here, they probably know what that festival is, and it's one of the biggest in Canada. And I played at a stage called Fractal Forest, and it's just that stage is, I've never played a stage like that. So the cool thing about that Fractal Forest stage is that it's the first and really the only stage I've ever played that is 360 degrees.
That's sick.
And you're literally in the forest, and you have this stage that's like built in between the trees and reinforced by the trees. It kind of like comes up like a little tree house, and the crowd is all around you, around you.
And we have some video too. Let me see if I can.
Yeah.
You can kind of describe it, and let me pull it up real quick. All right, here we go. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the main stage right there. That's in between those trees, and you're looking at it from the front, but it goes all the way around it, and you're just seeing lasers shoot through the trees, and it's an incredible vibe. I mean, just the energy of the Canadian energy. I love Canadians. I love Canada. It's just the best. All of the crowd, everywhere that I've played in Canada, always has the best energy. Everyone's just super positive and always up to listening to whatever you throw at them.
This is sick. Look at this, man. So you're not only DJing and playing, you're performing live on, what is this, a drum beat machine right here?
Yeah, that's a Roland SPD-SX. It's a live sample drum machine. But not only is it a drum machine, it's a sampler, so you can load a bunch of samples into it. So what I've done with that thing is that, okay, yet another gift from Nikki and Denver. Shout out Denver, you're still in here. Is that thing is awesome because I'm able to take pieces of my songs and then play them live while I'm DJing. So I have versions, stripped down versions of my songs that I'm DJing. And while I'm DJing, I've got the pieces from those songs loaded into my sampler in different libraries. And I can on the fly play, the top lines, like the horn samples or a cappella samples from that song. And what's cool about it is because now that I have control over it, I'm almost remixing it on the fly and making a different version of it that you get to experience.
Yeah, I see you like glancing down at the machine. Are you checking your BPM, or what are you looking at while you're playing, or the song levels, or?
At the bottom of the machine, I'm flipping through the different libraries because every library is a different set of pieces from each song. So if I have another song that I want to infuse into that instrumental, I actually can take that song, like from to take the pieces from another song just on the fly, load it up, and then play it on top of the current instrumental.
That's dope, dude. That's dope.
It's awesome.
Man.
It's fun. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
We have a new toy that we're playing with, which is
Bring it back for the flow. Bad villain, finna kill it for the go. Pump up the bass.
Sorry
and you could
that.
do this. That's all good. But so now we have this like finger drumming thing that you can load a bunch of samples with. We just got it, so we're still messing around with it. But yeah, the live thing is awesome. It's really fun, especially when you're playing that and like an environment like that, because people can feel that energy.
So if you were gonna say if that's one of your favorite sets you've ever played, where do you think? I think would be maybe one of your other favorite places.
I'd probably say, Ibiza is definitely a highlight in my reel.
Wow, that's sick.
Yeah. The track that came out today, that label, they brought me out multiple times to a place called Ushuaia, which is one of the biggest venues in Ibiza. And the last time I played there it was sold out, 4,000 people, and the production there is just incredible. It's a hotel in which has a pool in the middle, and it has a festival stage just right there.
Dope.
And they do parties like all week, every day, when it's high season, and that was definitely a highlight for sure.
Anytime you can incorporate a pool into a party, it's a good thing, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So let's listen to another track. Let's give you guys want to hear another track out there. What about so Live My Life you produced and put out in 2021. Talk to us a little bit was it 2020 or 2021? You made it in 2020.
Live My Life, that was my last single that I released about a month and a half ago.
But you worked on it in 2020. So you worked on this in the pandemic, and somebody had asked like earlier in the broadcast, how has the pandemic affected your music creation and stuff like that? So this is one you actually worked on during the pandemic. Yep. So tell us a little bit about this track.
That's I worked on that, and that one, that's another track that sort of started with the vocals that I worked with it, and really the expression of the song and the vibe is just kind of just living your life, especially when during these times, and when a lot of people are kind of scared, or don't know what to do, or it's just kind of speaking to that, and really just digging within yourself, and like finding a way to just enjoy the moment, and living what is given to us, which is your life, and making the best of it.
I love it. Let's listen to it. That was sick. I didn't want to stop.
Dude.
I didn't want to stop listening. I had to let it play all the way through, and I was starting to get like a nice oxytocin release, and I was like, I know I should go back to chatting, but that sounds so good.
It's got the, see, with that you can kind of feel the like that 90s like house vibe, the influence behind it, and it wasn't intentional. It just kind of came out. So that that's, and that kind of goes back to what I was talking about, where you kind of really molded about like the environment you grew up in, and kind of like pulling those influences. Geez, I mean, that bass line was probably from I think that, like, now that I think about it, the inspiration could have been from like a 90s track. What was that guy? Those guys, the same guys that did Pump the Jam.
Pump Up the Jam.
Tektronics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh gosh. Now it's
escaping me. There was another song that they did that almost maybe emulates that, but totally subconscious, you know?
Yeah, 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 of course. The vocals were sick on it too, and yeah, my gosh, the messaging is like, especially with the year we just had, we have to keep living, you know what I mean? Live our lives, you know, and speak our minds and move forward and move on, you know? So I love it,
Yeah.
dude. I love it.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
This is a dope track. Okay, so let's see. So let's talk a little bit about where do you think is one of the coolest places your music has taken you? So, you know, obviously, you know, not as many places in the last year, but you know, you were touring a ton prior to the COVID lockdown. So what are some of the coolest places you got to go and see?
I'd probably say there's a lot of awesome places. Like I said, Ibiza was definitely one of them. And one of the things I enjoy doing when, you know, I like to take advantage of these opportunities, and maybe if I can take a reroute. So like, you know, when I played in Ibiza, we I took Nikki with me, and we rerouted to Amsterdam. We're like, because it had to reroute through Amsterdam anyways. And we did that. We had an absolute incredible time. We actually visited the record label that I'm on, like the studio over there. Another fun, amazing place that I've been to, really cool place is when I had my tour in Australia, and we went through Bali just as a pit stop, which wasn't long enough at all. It was only like, I don't know, 4 days. That's nothing too. Like you're just rushing around on a moped trying to see all the things. But then going down to Australia was amazing, because we, you know, got to see the Great Barrier Reef, and got to see these amazing rainforests, and just Australia, really, really cool place. And you don't realize how big it is until you're there and doing all of the domestic flights, and you're like, man, 5-hour flight this month. It's like being in the US and flying to New York, from New York to LA or something, you know.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
That never occurred to me until I was there, and it really put that into perspective.
Do you think you're going to go back? Is it a place you want to revisit?
100%.
Yeah.
It's a really, really cool place.
Awesome. And then, so talk to me a little bit about, and we're going to listen to, I think we got 2 more really great tracks we have to check out. So we'll go into that in a second, but let's talk a little bit about, since we COVID-19 came up a couple times, right? So let's talk about, what did you do? Like after, obviously you live streamed, you helped out, but like when your tours got canceled, you know, we all had to have our shifts and our pivots and what we had to do to keep ourselves busy, keep ourselves enjoying things, life, keep ourselves productive, you know. In fact, what I'm doing now is part of my pivot and what I decided to do, because I love this and I'm passionate about it. And what was something that you pivoted on when you started getting calls from all those promoters saying, dude, sorry, but the show's canceled. Because I got those calls as an event photographer and a videographer. I got those calls every freaking 2 weeks. Sorry, bro, canceled. Sorry, bro, canceled. So what was your pivot?
You know, everyone has to adapt, right? It's either, you know, you get impacted by it and not do anything, or you figure out, you know, what another opportunity is. And for me, the moment that I realized that this was gonna be way longer than we all thought, I'm like, okay, well, what other opportunity is there to really put my bandwidth into? And you know, I had a side hustle going with one of my best friends, and, you know, my business partner, and we were in the CBD space. And we were in the CBD space as you know, a retail store, and just selling other brands, and kind of just had this little side thing happening. And when COVID hit, it was an opportunity for me to be like, okay, well, what do I do in this space that that can blossom with my bandwidth? And what that ended up being was to create an entire CBD brand of our own and start manufacturing CBD and cannabis products. And you know, during this lockdown, that's what I shifted my focus into. I'm like, well, I mean, I lost all my shows. You know, what am I going to do? I'm going to gonna make our own brand and make this thing happen, because we've talked about it for quite some time. And if it's gonna get any attention from me, like my 100% bandwidth attention, it's going to be now. And so I really shifted my focus to it in the last 12, for the rest of the year. I developed nearly 22 new products with our CBD brand. The CBD brand, and it's a cannabis too. It's called Vita Optima, and it means living your life optimally. And it's not only just a CBD brand, it's also a lifestyle, and supporting taking care of yourself, your others, and being the best version of yourself, optimizing yourself. And our products are meant for you to take on a daily basis as a daily routine. We've got stuff to help you with sleep. Recently, we've got into this new realm called Delta 8 THC, which is actually derived from the hemp plant. So it's just massive breakthrough in the last few months, and that's sort of the recent development that we've got into. And we officially launched all of those products in January, after locking myself in a cave pretty much, and learning how to make the brand, do the packaging. My best friend Denver, he helped set the foundation for it, but he was also very busy with his vinyl art. A lot of people know him from the last episode, and he had this vinyl thing going on, and I had all these. It wasn't just one product. It was like a handful more, and it's just, there is going to be more. So he showed me the ropes of the packaging. And I took that on and used those skills. I dove into Illustrator and more into Photoshop, and understood that, and developed the packaging myself, and all of the R&D for the products, and website building, and wearing so many hats, and the marketing part of it, which I actually have a history of, just back in the day. So I was able to apply all of these skill sets from just earlier in my life, and really put them into play the last 12 months. And and here we are now. And now we've got all these products, and they're doing really, really well, and making an impact on people, which is, for me, very important, because as a producer, as an artist, I love just having that reach with people, and understanding that I've made that the positive impact on people. And in the cannabis space too, we have a whole community of people now that if you read all the reviews, people are just dealing with anxiety, dealing with pain, with sleep, and to see these reviews and the feedback from people, so showing that how much of an impact it's made on their life, is so fulfilling for me. And it just feels that, for me, something that I enjoy most. Whether it's creating something that people enjoy, or being on stage and playing something that people enjoy, and making an impact on their lives, making these unforgettable moments. And so I think that it just, in a way, they're not relevant to each other, but in a way they are, in that when you actually drill it down to the core foundation of it.
That's awesome. I love that. So what is the website again for any of the viewers if they want to check it out?
The brand is called Vita Optima, and it's Vita Optima, VIDA, OptimaCBD.com.
Perfect. I love it. And I mean, if I can ask, if you don't mind, has cannabis use, or cannabis in general, influenced your music in any way, and how you produce or how you create? Because obviously, a lot of people would speak to the creative benefits of cannabis. So I'm just curious, if you don't mind me asking.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm a proud cannabis user, smoker, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I love it because it is a way for me to unlock my creative flow, and really set apart or put aside all of the technical stuff. Because the thing about being a producer is that you have to be someone that's technical, on an engineer level, and understand all those little details and everything, all the nerdy stuff. And then you have the creative side, in which that's the creation part of it, and the musical part, the artistry that's in it. And a lot of the times, you know, if I just sit at my desk and I'm trying to write music, I'm going, okay, I'm gonna play this melody, or I've got the sample. I'm like, oh, it's out of this frequency, or I gotta EQ it. And now I have to have this thought process that's just, it's just on my shoulder. It's like, no. It's like shutting these things down, and it's getting in the way. So if I actually take an edible before I really want to like go out there, and I'll just get lifted and go. And then that's when the weird stuff starts happening. And I'm just like, what about this? You know, why have I tried this sample and just stretch it to this and like invert the octave to where it's pitched down, and then like, you know, maybe pitch it, like do an automation up, and stuff that I'm like not thinking if the technical side wasn't there, trying to cock block these like creative thoughts, if you will.
Yeah, it makes sense. And you're also creating a more euphonic experience for your ears too, right? So kind of like if you were listening, if like you were mixing and listening off of like a tube amplifier or something like that, or something that was creating a euphony in your sound. Because I would imagine that is also part, you're hearing things more intently and differently, which is making you more creative too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the tracks that you love that you've probably heard, I was probably pretty high making it. Or awesome. I got to a point where I hit a wall with it, and then I'm like, I'm stuck here. Let me just pop an edible and see what happens. And then it's like, move forward. You know, something new. Well, you know, like Came to Get Funky, that was a whole different song. I had that song just stashed away for like a year. And if you heard what it used to sound like, it's completely different than what it is now, because I was just stuck on it. And then one night I was like, I got lifted, and then within a half an hour I got weird, and I messed around with a horn sample, and I'm like, oh, what is this? And I even hit up Denver, and I'm like, dude, you got to listen to this. And I showed it to him. He's like, dude, this is awesome. And it's just, you know, those moments where, yeah, okay, that's why.
Yeah, you push through a barrier. Let's listen to that track. We have that one too. Let's see. Should we cue up Came to Get Funky?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. You guys out there want to hear Came to Get Funky? All right, here we go.
And I came to get funky, homie, what up? Yes, y'all, it's the one and only, get up. No more BS music, watch and learn. And I came to get funky, homie, what up? Get that lay back now. Get that get up. Just do this. Learn. And I came to get funky, homie. What up? Yes, y'all, it's the one and only. Get up. No more BS music, watch and learn. And I came to get funky, homie. Get up. Get that. Lay back now. Get that. And I came to get funky, homie. What up?
You play the whole thing, huh?
And I had to play the whole thing because you know it's just so true. Like I feel like if I only play the first 30 seconds, the intricacy of the song isn't fully fleshed out because it just keeps progressing and you layer in more, you layer more and more in as the song goes. And so like for somebody listening to your music, you know, you can't just play a little bit of the song and then just skip around to another track. You gotta see it and hear it all flesh out because then it fully comes together when you do. At least that's
because you understand the journey, right?
You go on that journey. That's been my experience.
You know what's funny?
You know,
it's funny.
to music.
It's funny you say that because there's like a, it's just like a little pet peeve of mine when I and of course I don't really care because it's not my set, but I've heard like other DJs drop my tracks, and sometimes their mixing style is really fast, and they'll drop my track and like say for instance Came to Get Funky, they'll literally drop the first, like they get to the first drop, play 30 seconds, and then mix to the second, like their next track, and I'm like, dude,
you missed the best part.
You're missing the best part.
Yeah,
you know, and as a producer, you're like, dude, I spent so many hours drawing this thing out for, you know, the listener, and then, you know, you're just gonna be like, okay, next song, which is fine. Like some DJs are just like that. You got like open format DJs or hip hop DJs are just like, you know, just drop, which is fine. But, you know, as a producer, sometimes you're just like, oh, dude, but they're gonna miss the best part with, like, you know, the downs and the ups, and then like that second progression.
Yeah, I love it. So we have a couple more questions, and then we got another track, and then we'll probably call it in a little bit. We've been going for a while. So it's
too much fun.
This is fun, and it's gone by quick too. So Home Cooked has a question. He says, do you have a song that you've written that is really special and stands apart from your efforts to date? Great question, Home Cooked.
Yeah, I'd probably say it's what we just heard. Came to Get Funky is, you know, definitely one of my most unique songs that really, it's a slow burner, because funny story about that song is that, like, it's when it came out, well, first of all, after I made it, I finished it, pitched it to all these labels. Everyone rejected. No, not for us. It was too different for them, I guess. And whoever these A&R guys they had some other thing in their head of what they thought was going to be popular at the time. So I faced all of that rejection because it was so different and unique. And then my manager and I, we ended up self-releasing it on his label, Pinnacle Collective. And we just, you know, we put it out, and then it kind of just, we didn't put too much promotion behind it. We just didn't have like the budget to do it. And we weren't a huge label. So we kind of just organically put it out and let it kind of start crawling to people. And the feedback was always amazing. The feedback was just always awesome from the get-go. But it kind of started spreading. And then a major label then hit us up, and they're like, we really like the song. We want to put some money behind it. Can we, you know, get in on this? So since we actually controlled the song, we made a deal with them, and then, you know, they put some marketing dollars behind it, and then we got some sync deals. It got put into some the Despicable Me trailer. It
I
got picked
love
up
that. I
for
love this movie.
it got picked up for So You Think You Could Dance, Abercrombie commercials. I mean, like it started like really getting picked up by all these channels, and then like that continued to spread. And so it's one of those songs that like it still burns till this day, and it's been out for I mean 3 years now, maybe a little bit longer. And I call it a slow burner because at that point, more and more people were playing it, and more people were running into it. But it wasn't. I wouldn't consider it as like the hit of the time. It's just it kind of like just made its way through, and it kept on growing, and it kept on growing, and it just like hit 1 million plays, and then it got 2 million plays, and then like it got on YouTube, and then it got picked up by all these like the sync deals, and then kept on going over the next course of like the couple of years. And now on Spotify I think it's almost like 9 million
It's
plays,
crazy.
and it's still being discovered by people that are like, whoa. I'm still getting tagged by people that are like, this song is awesome. Like, well, welcome to
You're like,
welcome to
where
the
were
party.
you? You're like, where were you? That was just 3 years ago. Dude,
but it's great. I mean, I can't complain. It's like it's
awesome.
awesome that people are still discovering it, and it's that different. It's that unique, and it's that different to where it's still falling into people's laps, and they're like, "Whoa, what is this? This is great." And I think that there's really something special about that. I think that for me there's a value of being timeless to something where it could be heard years later, and someone's still like, "Whoa, what is this? This is super cool."
I love that. That's dope. Scott, dude, I just want to say thank you. Scott just dropped us a super chat. He says, this is an awesome stream. Have a few drinks on me. Thanks, buddy, for your support. We appreciate you supporting this stream, man. Good. Scott's awesome, dude. Scott's a definite supporter of other streams we do. He's a good dude. And where are you calling in? Where are you viewing in from again, Scott? Is it Netherlands? I think he's from far, too.
Nice.
Go back in the comments. Thank you, brother. So we also have one other track, and this one's got a really interesting story behind it. This one's hilarious. I remember you first sent me this a while back when I think I was talking about going into YouTube more, and I didn't realize that you're kind of a YouTube phenomenon yourself. Like, you've done a lot of cool stuff through YouTube, and you sent me this mix, and I was like, wow, that's sick. Talk to me a little bit about this track. This is fun.
Which one are we talking about here?
Hold up, wait a minute.
Hold up, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a funny one. So that talk about starting songs at different angles. This song started as a meme, and actually I didn't even intend for it to become a meme. It was already something that was just floating around the internet anyways, and it was a video of this guy being interviewed, and he's talking about his house getting broken into, and he like just is really explaining it pretty funny, and he goes, hold up, wait a minute, and I thought that was funny, and then he started beatboxing, and I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. And at the time I was already pretty activated. I have animals anyways, so I was like, oh my god, I need to take action on this. And so I went to my desk, and I downloaded the interview, sampled it, made a beat out of it, chopped it all up. I posted it, and I just posted it for fun. I didn't even think of anything of it. I kind of posted it for fun to show my friends and kind of show my fans, and was like, yeah, guys, check this out, check out what I made. And then it just like took off, and next thing I know, it's like got 500,000 views, 1 million, and then 2 million, and then 3 million, and I'm like, what, seriously? And then I was like, okay, I only made a 30-second bit of it, and then people were like, finish the song, and I'm like, okay, cool. So I ended up finishing it and releasing it on my own distribution, and it's a funny one.
I think what I'll do is we'll play it and we'll listen to it now, but what I'll do after this this stream is over, I'll go and I'll find that YouTube link video, and I'll link it so anybody that's watching this on the rewind can go check out that, because the video is hilarious too. The way you edit it with the music over it, it's so funny.
Like filming myself making it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious, man. So, all right, let's listen to it. Hold up, wait a minute. So this guy is actually, so his vocals, he's talking about somebody that's breaking into his house, right? And I mean, and you mix this so perfectly with your beat, and it's just like, I can't help but like love the beat and love where the journey. But this dude, like, and the way he's saying it, and oh god, it's great. It's great, dude.
It's awesome.
It's so good. It's just so good on so many different levels. Like, I'll definitely link to the YouTube video in the description of the video, because you have to go watch. It's not the full version. You have to watch it. Yeah, it's not the full version, but it's you have to watch it.
It's how it came to be.
It's going to give you more context to this song, and it's friggin' hilarious. It's so good.
Even if you search for "Hold Up, Wait a Minute," I think it's maybe like one of the first or second ones to come up.
Absolutely. Oh, dude, that's great. Everybody else likes it too. That's great. Yeah, it does. The backstory does make it all that much better. It's hilarious. So, and last call to anybody. I put a last call in the chat. Do you guys have any other questions for Cazztek or myself before we end the stream? I just want to thank everybody out there too. You guys have been great and fun to chat with. We'll give it another second because there's always a little bit of delay. So we also have another stream coming up this Saturday on the Focal Radiance. These beautiful headphones right here. That'll be things. Yeah, they're fancy, man. That'll be this Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, and actually Professor Falcon will also be joining me for that stream too as well. So, and I believe he just got those headphones, so he'll be able to give you his thoughts and opinions on them as well. So there'll be a couple of our thoughts on it. So, anything else out there in the land of YouTube? Do you guys have any more questions for this stud before we wrap it? Well, I got one more. Okay, as my two-year-old likes to say, one more, and then that becomes like 5 more. One more is her way of saying like 5. She wants 5 more things, really. Yeah, actually, Scott, you got it. That's exactly what I was going to ask. What is coming next, man? So, Scott, you and I are on the same wavelengths. What's going to happen in 2021 for you? You know, where's the direction? What are you guys going to do? I know you and Nikki have put out tracks together. Are we going to see more of that? Are we going to see more, hopefully, tours coming in the future? What does the future hold for you?
Yeah, we're working on a couple of things in terms of like a potential new project together, because she's in her own lane with her own music production and amazing stuff, and we've talked about like teaming up together. The 2021, it's still unpredictable. Everyone is trying to plan for all the things, and we're seeing, we're starting to see flyers come up, but then now we're seeing shows still getting canceled. So it's really up in the air with, even with my team and I, we're starting conversations with festivals and promoters. But at this time, it's really more focused on getting back into the music groove and releasing the music, reconnecting with the audience, the community, the friends, the fam, and all of the listeners, and just kind of getting the juices flowing again. It was hard to do that during COVID. I mean, like I did create, but again, like I said, I was really wrapped up into the CBD brand, and and the last I don't know, probably few weeks, I've gotten my musical juices flowing again, and we're planning some stuff out. I mean, I've got a live stream tomorrow that I'm being part of, and another one on Saturday. So if anyone wants to join
tell us where you're going to be. Share. One of them's with Dim Mak, which is
Dave Aoki's. It's Dave Aoki's label, where I have a track coming out on his label at the end of the month. And it's just it's a highlight. It's an artist highlight with their audience. So I'm doing a stream with them tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that's
an actual set though you're playing, right? So is it a set?
Actual set? Yeah, actual.
So you guys out there, you can actually watch and listen to Cazztek play a set. So that's pretty cool too. 5 p.m. on, is it their YouTube or their Twitch? 5 p.m.
Pacific. It's on their Twitch.
Okay.
Dim Mak Twitch. Yeah, and then
okay.
If I can't make it to that one, I've got another one Saturday night at like midnight Pacific Standard Time for people that are either up late or listening on a Sunday morning if you're in Europe.
Yeah.
And that one's gonna be cool. It's with a bunch of friends on Twitch. We're just gonna be sort of supporting each other and doing. It's called Friends Festival that my Canadian friends Rumpus and is putting together. So. Yeah, that's awesome too. And Nikki is also playing that, and yeah, it's gonna be super fun. Excellent. So yeah, we're just getting the things are kind of like coming back into play, and again, like that's really what we have. It's what we have in the near future while we kind of take the steps of like, oh yeah, what's gonna happen. I feel like it's probably gonna be. Sounds like to me, September, October is like that entry point of things starting to happen again. It's still who's to say if that's going to really go down or not,
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. Yes, I think we all are. We all want to get back to
everyone's ready. I'm ready.
Yeah, we want to go see shows. We want to see you perform and be out with. I mean, we're human. We want to be around other humans, So it's and music is what brings us all together. So, you know, it's, yeah, we're ready. Leonard, dude, thank you so much for the support. Leonard just dropped us a super chat too. Thank you, sir. You rock, brother. Appreciate you, man. And then Elnrick, it looks like you said, I'd love to get a small 15 to 20. Yeah, I'll share you my playlist I made. I have a playlist created for him, so I'll share it with you. Actually, later on the Discord, I'll share it with you. So I got you covered there because I've been, like I said, I've been listening. And I'll tell you what, I love his music off of these headphones because he's got a little bit of a bass lift shelf increase. And also off of these bad boys, the Rad Zeros, because these also just hit for bass. Yeah, these things are crazy. So so grab your bassier sounding headphones. You probably already did for this stream, and put on his tracks, and you're going to be very well taken care of. All right, so I think with that, I think we call it, man. Cazztek, thank you, brother. I seriously appreciate you coming on and
it's a pleasure, man.
Sharing your music with all of us, and I look forward to watching what you're going to do this year, and hopefully getting to see you perform. Like, that would be like epic. So Home Cooked, thank you so much, man. Yes, absolutely, Scott. Here's to hoping we can all be around each other soon. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Leonard, thank you, brother. RazQ, everybody else on the stream that joined earlier. I really appreciate you all. Do you have anything else you want to say, Cazztek, or I'll close it out for us?
I just want to say it was an awesome, fun talk, and it was a good time, man. And thanks for everyone for joining in and listening. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody out there. And until next time, as always, much love.